Good afternoon, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe because for every subscriber, I read a page from a book of my choice. It's been a while since I last gave you an update with regard to how my teaching practice is going. In fact, it's been a whole week. I was told to stop uploading updates about my teaching practice every single day, but I still want to have something to commemorate this journey by, and I am going to be making weekly updates about my teaching practice from now on, and I have 2 weeks to go. This has so far probably been one of my longest weeks in terms of work, in terms of um, getting to know the students better and giving lessons. I had 15 lessons to give because I missed just one of them due to an activity the Italian students had. Overall, I think it went much better than I anticipated. I still have a lot of student profiles to write and several corrections to do. I think the students are honing up to me quite well. They're getting to know me much better. They also appreciate the fact that I am a YouTuber, but I have told them on multiple occasions not to bring it up at school because it is not professional to do so. So I hope they will listen to that part because strictly speaking, it really isn't professional to speak about YouTube at school, and I do not bring it up, but they seem to do anyway. I literally had kids from several classes, some students I never taught before, I never even saw. They told me that they love my channel, that it's the best part of their day whenever I upload. It's all very flattering, but at the same time, I will be able to speak about this channel more openly once my teaching practice days are over. At the moment, I am still being observed, I am still being examined, so I have to take things very, very seriously. Not that I do, not that I don't when on days when the examiners do not show up, but um, I would say I have to take things more seriously than I usually would during teaching practice, especially realistically, being a teacher in a school and following a course at university and forming a part of teaching practice. They're two separate worlds entirely. But this has been very good practice so far. I am very glad to say that I am making some progress because, as you know from my previous videos, I failed my first two exams, but this week an examiner showed up and she told me that I still have a lot of work to do. I still have to turn the corner. There are some very drastic changes I need to make with regard to how I correct the work of students in class, with regard to how I get them to interact with each other, and the lesson is apparently still too teacher-centered, so that is also something I've been trying very, very hard to work on. It is quite a challenge not to yap in front of an audience during the whole lesson, especially when whatever you say strikes them as interesting and they listen so attentively. I've had very, very good classes so far. They're all students I'm very happy to have in my class and in my respective classes, and I really can't complain about behavior. I hope that this doesn't change in the next 2 weeks. Because, for instance, when they know that I am being examined, they are much more silent than they usually are, and the examiners get the impression that I am uh, trying to lead these students with an iron fist, that I am perhaps too strict, even though that is not the case. I do try to give the students a lot of work to do, get them to participate in class as much as possible, but when the examiners are there, the students just don't seem to do this because they are afraid that if they act up or participate too much during the lessons, the examiners will think that I am the one who is causing the problem. So that part really isn't working in my favor, but we'll see how the other two exams go. If I pass from those, I'll be able to pass from teaching practice. There is a lot of paperwork I have yet to do. Catching up with lesson plans and with student profiles has been very, very challenging because after a long week of teaching and getting a lot of paperwork done, the least thing one would wish to do would be to go home and write close to 5,000 words um, about the lessons themselves, which is honestly quite a burden, but at the same time, I understand why we are being put through this. I mean, teachers will have a lot of work to do. For any subject really, there is a lot of work which um, is never really spoken about, which is why I think a teacher's job is so severely underrated and overhated in some cases as well, because they get the holidays, they get the summer off, they have 2 weeks off during Christmas time and Easter time. That is such a silly argument because there is so much work going on behind the scenes, and the relationships that are being built between the teachers and the students are relationships which you can't really build in any other profession. Um, so that is something to be grateful for as well. Um, at the moment, I just want my students to remember that I am their teacher, not just a celebrity like a Justin Bieber or a Jason Momoa roaming around the halls at school. So I hope that can be something they can keep in mind. For instance, um, this week I had a student trying to recreate the prime bottle incident, um, but this time he actually managed to kill a fly with the bottle. Um, he apparently saw my video on YouTube and he wanted to get me to speak about it again. So here I am doing so. Not quite sure whether he will watch the whole thing, but if you are, there you go, I suppose. That was interesting. Then there was another very fun moment during one of my lessons with the grade 9s where we were discussing the topic of healthy living, and as a starter, as a warmer of an activity, I told the students to discuss with each other a day where they woke up feeling energized and another day where they woke up feeling exhausted, and to speak about their morning routines. Needless to say, they brought up the guy who made the whole morning routine video about the 4 minute dive. I'm sure you know who I am talking about, the guy who dipped his face into ice water for a long time. Then there was a kid who started telling me all about one morning, which I don't remember whether it was the positive one or the negative one, but it came across as something an NPC would do, a non-playable character, and I was very, very quick to point this out, of course, in a humorous way, because I don't want students to feel uncomfortable during my lessons. But um, yeah, they all laughed at that joke, and then I even asked him to try to tell me another story which he went through as a redemption arc, and I think the students are getting to know me much better as a person. That creates a very authentic environment for language learning, especially, and it gives them the impression that I am some sort of fatherly figure in class because they know I am someone who cares about their education. I'm not quite sure whether they can say the same about other teachers. I, of course, do not ask about other teachers in class, um, since I do tend to have quite a professional attitude during work time. But I've been told that I am one of the best teachers they have had in a while, so that is of course also very, very flattering. It's only been 3 weeks, so it's of course probably quite a stretch for them to say such a thing, and I'm sure that they would really get bored of me after a longer time. It's just that I am something new at school. They are still warming up to me, so um, they haven't really been giving me any problems with doing their homework either. They listen to instructions well, all of them do really. And yeah, I think those were the most memorable parts of the week. Some students um, were not there yesterday because they had an activity where they went to cook pepperoni pizza for one of their Italian classes, which was rather fun for them, I would imagine. But the others, I was worried about them falling behind because there is already so much for me to cover in the syllabi I was given, and there are several public holidays. Some days are going to be missed because of sports day or because of um, Easter Mass or something to that degree, so I am very worried about falling behind. I am trying to include as much as I possibly can into my lesson plans, but realistically, I hardly ever manage to finish everything on there because students usually need more time to complete exercises, and the time I plan on my lesson plans isn't realistic enough for them. It always falls short, so they always end up taking a minute or two, even when I do cut the exercises short to save time. Most students aren't yet finished, so it's pretty difficult to balance that, but I do have a better grasp of how to manage my time in class. I mean, it's been 3 weeks. I know my students' pace by now. I know what they are capable of. So there is a more steady rhythm going on there. But at the same time, as I am mentioning, there is way too much to do and too little time, to the point that there are certain topics which I kind of have to rush through in order to manage everything, because with the grade 9s, they are entitled to 4 language lessons in a week and 2 literature ones. But with all the literature lessons um, I am expected to teach, all the literature topics I am told to teach, it would be very difficult to complete everything by the time my 5 weeks are up. Um, so yeah, this has so far probably been one of my longest weeks. My first week was pretty fun overall because I was still getting to know the students, um, still making my way through everything, trying to understand everything, getting to know the people at school better. My second week had a public holiday on Wednesday, so it was slightly easier to balance everything. But my third week didn't have any public holidays. I wasn't given any rest between one day and the other. There were several lesson plans I had to go through and fix because I knew that my examiner would show up, and I was already on very, very thin ice, so I couldn't really take any risks. But I am honestly very proud of myself for having made it through 3 weeks of teaching practice. Um, it is much more difficult than they make it sound during lectures. I mean, only a handful of the lecturers gave us an honest interpretation of what teaching practice is like. Others didn't go through the difficulty it would bring in as much depth, but I feel as though I'm getting used to it by now. Next week is a 4-day week as well because we don't have school on Monday, which is why I am trying to catch up on sleep and trying to get some reading done as well. So that is a bit of a good break. But anyway, that is all I had to say about my third week of teaching practice. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Take a look at the rest of my videos and all the content because why not? It's absolutely amazing. And I'll see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Bye, guys.